Ticketgate has reached its conclusion, but are UCF fans happy with Terry's explanation?
You are Locked On UCF, your daily podcast on the UCF Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on in to Locked On UCF, your daily UCF podcast. I'm your host, Mike G. Thank you so much for making Locked On UCF your first listen of every day. Joining me is my good friend, Andrew Gluchov from The Last Word on Sports, UCF reporter extraordinaire. Andrew, Terry Mohajir gave his explanation, his final explanation, I would say, on Ticketgate. And reading through social media, and I know that this is kind of a truncated sample size, it feels like a lot of fans are calling bull on a lot of things that he had to say about why this email went out in the first place. It's crazy in today's day and age, and with social media being so prevalent, when you say things like this, it can go around the world 5 times before you can respond. So I want to read this statement before I let you comment. They put this out from the UCF Knights official Twitter page. I believe they put it out on Instagram as well. It says, "Dear Knight Nation, I want to acknowledge that we missed the mark yesterday in clearly communicating with some season ticket holders. The email was intended to reach only those accounts who purchased season tickets with the sole intent to resell. Unfortunately, the email went to 600 accounts, some of which were misidentified as ticket brokers. For those of you who received the email from our ticket office, I apologize for any confusion it caused. To be clear, no ticket holder is losing their seats or discounts. Our intent is to prioritize our dedicated fans by offering upgrade opportunities to those who actively use their tickets before potential brokers, while also accommodating as many fans as possible from our 2,500 seat waitlist." There's a 2,500 seat waitlist. "As the stadium evolves, we want UCF fans in our best seats. Our goal has always been and will continue to be to make FBC Mortgage Stadium the best possible environment for our team to compete in and win, and with an atmosphere that feels like home for our passionate Knight fans. We have already started and will continue to contact season ticket holders who received the email to help clarify the intent and answer questions. Thank you again for being an essential part of the UCF family. In the meantime, if you have any additional questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to contact the Athletics Ticket Office." Signed, Terry Mohajir, UCF Vice President and Director of Athletics. Oh, okay, that was a mouthful. How do you feel about this statement that we accidentally sent this out to more than just ticket brokers, but it went out to like 600 people accidentally?
Well, I mean, I kind of roll my eyes a little bit at it. I was once a season ticket holder before I got into media. I ended up getting priced out when they were doing conversions in the Cabana, and they tried to raise my ticket price by 56%. So to see UCF Athletics do something that is really counter to, wanting to be inclusive of the fan experience does not surprise me in the bit. It's kind of par for the course. In this case, they should have really scrutinized this. If they were going after ticket brokers, they should have looked, check it twice, check it 3 times before you send this out, because the damage far outweighs the benefit. Remember, this only went to 600 fans, yet it's causing a huge uproar. So maybe if you checked it a little bit and it was 200 fans in reality that you really needed to, 200 accounts that you had to go after, the scrutiny should have been there. I mean, this is causing way more damage. And we talked about this when this first came out, and I read what University of Florida's policy is. And it specifically calls out ticket brokers. UCF's policy, so Florida has a specific target. UCF's policy was way more vague, talking about the market and everything, to the point where you can use someone buying tickets and then selling them for below market value to move them. Here's the rub. Here's the rub. A broker is not going to try intentionally to buy tickets and then sell them below market value. Right. That's bad business. You're doing that because nobody wants to buy them. You have to focus on the product. And when the product goes bad, That's not when you make these changes. I understand a lot of fans are excited about new coach and all this other stuff. Scott Frost coming back, but the product in prior year was not very good. So as a result, the last thing you want to do is to disincentivize people to want to keep doing this. And then the third thing was the timing of this all. They sent these notices after the renewal deadline. You're supposed to do this before the deadline, so those ticket brokers get put on notice that, hey, watch out now. I think this was, the actual process. This was a bit of a form of entrapment by forcing, fans or various accounts to do their renewal and then go after them. Then there was the sloppiness of not, double checking, triple checking your list before it going out. And as a result, you have this huge amount of egg on your face, and you have to write a letter like this. And the thing is, fans were already upset with Terry Mohajir because they're not happy with the product.
Right.
Gus Malzahn's, fell on his face. Johnny Dawkins' program is in free fall.
Yeah.
These are things, this is reflective of the athletic director. Look at all these other sports. Women's basketball is cratered. I mean, it's been absolutely terrible since Coach Abe left. These are all situations that, Terry Mohajir has to, rectify. That's his job. Now, baseball's off to a good start. Softball's doing, has a good staff in place. So, I mean, those are okay. Tennis is doing really well, but those are the smaller, more niche sports. Your big three, football and the two basketballs. Those are the ones that get the most notoriety. So those are the ones you have to have a focus on improving the product before you start taking care of all the minutia aspect. Okay, so you're dealing with some ticket brokers. They're selling. There are fans who will buy them, and sometimes they go to visiting fans. Big whoop. I'm sorry. If you're going after 600, big whoop out of 44,206.
Yeah.
I mean, that, granted, a good chunk of those are student, seats, but still, you made a mountain out of a molehill. And now UCF's athletic department's upper administration looks like a bunch of bubbling fools.
Yeah, let me add this, right? Here's why I think that his explanation doesn't make any sense. The original email said, based on your resale or transfer activity during the 2024 football season, your account has been identified as having high secondary market activity. Wouldn't you expect that a ticket broker would have high secondary market activity? Like, isn't that what they do? Like, am I reading this wrong? So I don't know why that would flag if you're in their system as a ticket broker. Of course, you have high secondary market activity going on. So you sent this email. The email is addressed to season ticket holders. It's not addressed to brokers. I mean, this is crazy. This is almost like, I know. It's almost like he looked right into the camera and said, I know what I just said, but I want to tell you I didn't say that. We just heard you say that.
He's not charismatic enough to pull that off. There are some people who can actually convince you, but he's not one of them. I mean, the truth is of this, Mike. The truth is of this is, Mike. Again, mountain out of a molehill. Something super small. You're only going after a small number of accounts. They blew it. They blew it bad.
The email was addressed to season ticket holders, man. And then you're trying to tell us that wasn't for season ticket holders. That was for brokers. Like, you're talking about taking away discounts and things that apply to season ticket holders. It was meant for the season ticket holders. That is an absolutely terrible explanation.
They're going after remote fans. That's what it's coming after. They're going after remote fans. They want the remote fans gone.
Yeah.
And they want them replaced with local fans.
Well, be better. Be better on the field then. You want local fans?
Look at the NFL. Look at that. A lot of fans have tickets as investments as well.
Yeah.
Like when I was a season ticket holder, at first there was only 3 of us. I bought 4 season tickets. And I would, give the last one to friends. I would sell it, and then the 3 of us would go. That was because I wanted, at the time I didn't have any kids. I was anticipating on eventually having, a kid. and wanted to bring them with me to these games and have them experience UCF football with me. So that was part of why I bought what I bought when I bought. And I had to do it years ahead to make sure I got the spot that I wanted and the number that I wanted. So there was an investment purpose for the future. This whole transaction of going after these fans and the backtrack, it just screams, we don't want fans who want to invest in an investment of tickets. For long term, we want people to show up today. That's all we care about is today. And I think it's bad. I look at the University of Florida. A lot of fans. There are generational tickets there. Auburn, generational to Alabama. All these schools, Ohio State, Michigan, and any of these established schools have generational fans with generational tickets. That went from dad to son to daughter, whoever, and down the line. This is spitting at the idea of generational tickets if you're not actively using them enough today. And I think that is complete BS. That's Bush League. That's not how you build a program for the long term. That is looking for a short-term grab. And look, schools already made their money. Why are you intercepting the secondary market unless your product's so bad fans are undercutting the face value just to get rid of the tickets? So again, right. I think this comes back to the fact that they're like, oh, well, some of our single game tickets aren't selling because fans are undercutting the market. Well, they're undercutting the market because your product sucks.
Yeah.
So do better. Get a better product on the field, and the rest of this will fix.
We'll move on because I feel like UCF fans need time to heal. I've never seen a fan base gel so quickly over a single topic. Like, man, the response to this was united, and they were in unison. People said, "This is, you got to do better for those of us who support the program, whether we're local or not." I can tell you, I have season tickets to my alma mater. We buy them to give away. I'll never give them up. Ever, right? Like, I'm always going to renew them no matter what. And it's just, it just makes me, I'm unnerved by the fact that they would put this out here insulting the intelligence of UCF fans. I think everybody knew that this was bull when it came out. And Terry Mohajir, I'm never shocked at how the people around him, nobody read that email. It's like, we missed some things here that people are going to call us on. Let's rewrite this or let's say something better. Just say, hey, we didn't think this through. We messed up. We're sorry. We hear you, and we're going to move on. We're going to move on here, and we're going to talk about if UCF fans are happy with Terry Mohajir. From this, we've heard fans voice other displeasure with the AD. We'll talk about that right after a quick word from our sponsors. This episode of Locked On UCF is brought to you by our friends at Roy. Attention, UCF fans. The future of college sports is here, and it's transparent. Before the Roy app, NIL negotiations often happened under the table, and fans didn't have a clear way to support the athletes they love. Now with Roy, you get to be a part of the change and support UCF athletes in the most transparent way possible. Roy, the NIL app, allows you to choose a player you want to support, decide how much to contribute, and receive exclusive content from the athletes you back. The best part, if your player transfers, you get your money back. It's a risk-free way to show your support. The Roy app is giving fans control. No more uncertainty. Now you can provide transparent, impactful support and help shape the team and the future of college sports with your contributions. Download the Roy app now from the App Store and start backing UCF athletes the way they deserve with transparency, trust, and with a real impact. That's the Roy app. Download in your phone's App Store today. Are UCF fans happy with Terry? I mean, reading through social media, I understand that some of the things that we read, it's a microcosm of, the overall sentiment and somewhat anecdotal, but it feels like this opens the door for a lot of UCF fans to air their frustrations with how things have been going with UCF athletics under Terry Mohajir. So my question to you is simple. Are UCF fans happy with how things are going under Terry Mohajir? Your football team's 4-8. your basketball team is collapsing down the stretch. I know that there may be some successes elsewhere, but those are your flagship sports. What do you think, Andrew?
I mean, they look at it this way. Outside of the Big 12 invite, UCF has not really accomplished much of anything.
Yeah.
While under Terry Mohajir, a lot of them miss Danny White. Now, Danny White was not perfect. Danny White dug UCF a massive hole in football scheduling, has caused a lot of problems, and Terry had to clean that up. And he did a decent job of that. Was it perfect? No, but you work with what you got. Outside of that, Danny White was a fantastic athletic director for UCF, and there's a reason why Tennessee paid him big bucks to go over there. So I was a little surprised that UCF went that direction instead of going after, a Brian White, the brother of Danny White, and has been, since 2018, the athletic director of Florida Atlantic. To have that connection from one to the other. I was a little surprised that they didn't go down that road. I never expected Terry Mohajir to leave Arkansas State. That was his alma mater. He built that up, made it about as successful as it could be. And, it comes down to the ultimate results on the field, on the court. Since being hired, which was, in mid 2021, middle of the academic year, the football program hasn't accomplished a whole lot. They, couple bowl, went to a few bowl games, but other than the win against Florida and the Gasper Bowl, really hadn't done a lot. They got to the conference championship game in 22, failed to convert, and that was it. The Big 12 has not gone nearly as well. And to be honest, it was expected. UCF was not going to compete for championships out the gate in a conference that has way more resources and way more history than UCF, who is by far the youngest school by over half a century within this group. But the results are ultimately what we're judged by. It's no different than any job that we're at. If our metrics are not good enough, we lose our job. We go through personal, we go through performance improvement plans. We get suspended. You ultimately can get terminated. Fans are not happy. You'd be more pressed to find fans who are satisfied with Mohajir's job than dissatisfied. I think it's a growing sentiment. That's why this Scott Frost experiment has to work well,
right?
Because if it fails, I think Mohajir goes with it. In fact, if some of these other programs don't improve, Mohajir may be gone sooner than that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this has to be a success for them. Failures on the field tend to snowball on you. And when it's across multiple sports, eventually you have to show how are you leaving your mark as an AD. You've got to help your coaches succeed. Now, Dawkins, we'll talk about this in the next segment. He wasn't a Mohajir hire. He got hired in 2016, I believe. And it was White that hired.
He was a Danny White hire.
He was Danny White hire, right? So, it's when you inherit a coach, sometimes it's a little easier to reevaluate and say, I want to go my own direction here. So that may give Mohajir some out there to move on from Dawkins if that's what he chooses. But look, at the end of the day, results. This is a results-driven industry, and if the results aren't there, then hey, look, you've got some trouble on your hands. But look, what's the future of Johnny Dawkins with Terry Mohajir as AD? We're going to talk about that next on Locked On UCF. Is he gone? Is Johnny Dawkins done? Is this it? Is this a wrap for Johnny Dawkins? As we just mentioned, he was not a Mohajir hire, so there's no sentiment there if you're Mohajir, right? Like, I hired this guy, believed in him. Let me give him one more shot. UCF currently is on a 7-game losing streak. And UCF basketball is. And when you look at what's going on with this program, I mean, it's tough to swallow that. This is their longest losing streak since the 2015-2016 season, when they also lost 7 consecutive games under Donnie Jones. So it's been what's happening hasn't happened in a decade. These are not the type of records that you're trying to set if you're Johnny Dawkins.
Right. No, this is definitely getting out of hand. It's the point where Keyshawn Hall made a post saying,
"Oh no,
we're sorry. It's not him. It's us. We're not putting it together on the court. We're not executing." So he actually went on the record to try to deflect away from Johnny Dawkins, who's getting all the heat. But as we know, it's always the coaches that get the heat. I'm a man. I'm 40. Remember when Gundy at Oklahoma State, went on that rant about that. You come after me, come after the coach. Well, they're going after the coach. But now it's the players saying, look, it's us. It's not him. He's doing everything he can. There were fans calling for him to be fired after last season and the season before. And I was not in that camp. And I was on a financial base. UCF really can't afford the buyout this time. Their cash is strapped elsewhere. They're starting to bring more money in, but they're not full shares yet. But since the mess of Gus Malzahn actually cleaned itself up really nicely, where UCF didn't lose any money outside of having to pay Ted Roof to go away.
Yeah.
They could turn around and absorb this. And, the buyout shrinks. So the buyout now is, I think, about $1 million.
Yeah. That's pennies.
Next year, I think the buyout shrinks to nothing after the season.
Wow.
Because it's based on, current salary, and then it's on a dwindling scale. So I think, they may let him go. And it really depends on if they can salvage the season. Yeah. If you look on some NIT bracketology websites, UCF is still in it barely.
Well, that was going to be my next question. What's left if you're UCF on this schedule? A week after week, we have come on this show and said, you got an opportunity here versus Iowa State. You got an opportunity versus Kansas. You have an opportunity versus Houston. And it's been close, but no cigar so many times here. Again, if you look at that second opportunity versus Iowa State, we thought, maybe they can bounce back from that. I know that was on the road, but they just haven't been able to break through and get that win. Now, we know that depth is an issue on this team, and I wonder how much Dawkins is going to be able to say, hey, give me one more year with guys in my system. Let me go out in the portal and get some guys, and let's see if we can get back to the top quarter of the conference here next year. Now, we know with the portal, you can make significant leaps year over year, but in today's college basketball, that takes money to do that for the most part. Whether the kids are coming from high school or they're coming from other schools, if they're good, it's going to cost you a dime. I don't think it's realistic nowadays to say, hey, we're going to find that diamond in the rough, because if you're UCF, you need like 4 of them right now. You are getting nothing from your bench right now, and it's costing you basketball games.
It absolutely is. And, the problem is UCF basketball just historically is just not good.
Yeah.
Historically, it isn't. UCF has finished in the top half of the American, top. Sorry, let me phrase that. You said top quarter of the American once. It was, they were tied for third in 2018, 2019 when they went to the NCAA tournament. They did have a 4th place finish his first season, but. And that it's usually middle of the road, 6th place, 7th place. The fact that they're near the bottom of the Big 12, return to where?
Right.
UCF doesn't have a winning culture. They don't have a winning history in basketball. They at one point in the early 90s and late 80s, when they were in the doldrums of Division I, there were coaching careers went to die.
Yeah.
UCF men's basketball, outside of the time of Torchy Clark in Division II, does not have a history or culture of winning. So the question is, if you pull the plug, can you get someone to actually make a material difference?
Yeah.
Johnny Dawkins is the most successful Division I head coach in UCF history. It's not close. Kirk Speraw did go to the NCAA tournament a few times, but that was also in the Atlantic Sun where someone had to go. They were a 14th seed, a 15th seed, or a 16th seed. And those three, every time they went to the tournament, they went, I believe, 4 times. Donnie Jones never went to the tournament. Then you have the one and only at-large they've ever had in the NCAA tournament, and that was under Johnny Dawkins.
Yeah.
And they went in as a 9 seed. They went to the second round and had that around the rim loss to Duke that would have, if that went in, they would have won the game, gone to the Sweet 16. Yes, that bought him a lot of goodwill and longevity at UCF, but they've gone stagnant. There's really nothing more to report on that. They got into the NIT. That's really kind of where Johnny Dawkins seems to always end up. At Stanford, they won the NIT twice. They've been there a third time. He's been to the NIT 3 times at UCF, got as close to the semifinals at his first year there. I remember that fondly, that run. So to expect like tournament or bust or something like that is just, it's disingenuous. You're only lying to yourself, because that's not UCF basketball. You have to, in order to have that kind of expectation, you have to prove that you can actually do that.
Yeah.
They did it once. Once is a coincidence. It's not a pattern. So they're an NIT program. Right now, they're still barely in the NIT. I think what will save him is you got to stop the bleeding. Get to a postseason tournament. And the CBI doesn't count. It's got to be, the NCAA, the NIT, or the new college basketball crown, which the Big 12 is a part of. I would count that as an okay result. You got to get to one of those postseason tournaments. And as I said before, the bracketology out there, the Bark and Crow does one, and D Ratings does one. UCF is on the fringe, on the in on both of these. They're part of the last 4 in on D Ratings. They're one of the bottom seeds in the Bark and Crow. And this was as of yesterday's results. So, I mean, they're aware of UCF continuing to lose. They're finally starting to lose places in the net. They're down to 80. Is it too late to salvage this? No, it's not too late to salvage. You got 5 games left outside of Oklahoma State, which, by the way, gave up 104 points to, in Stillwater this week, which is just unbelievable because Oklahoma State is also not a great team.
Got to play them again.
Other than them, you're playing against teams that all have a better net. So there is a chance to salvage the season, but you gotta figure this thing out. I mean, obviously the defense is non-existent. The offense, when it works, the defense doesn't. When the defense works, the offense doesn't. So figure yourself out. But if the players can't get results on the court, I think Dawkins could be out.
Yeah, look, down the stretch, UCF basketball has Utah, Kansas State, TCU, Oklahoma State, and West Virginia. At this point, I think that you have to make a run in the Big 12 tournament to really make a splash. Now, we talked about this. You are what your regular season says you are in terms of the NCAA tournament. It will not help them, their standing, whatever, making a run in the Big 12 tournament. I'm saying this for the people in the back, will not help UCF get off the bubble if that's where they would find themselves at the end of the regular season. The only way to get off the bubble is to win the whole thing. And, that's a long shot. So we'll continue to
they're not in the bubble anymore. They're squarely on. If they make a run, they're stealing someone else's spot.
Yeah. But they got to win the Big 12 tournament to do that, right? Again, we'll continue to talk about this, but the committee, when a lot of times by the Saturday, because a lot of these conferences, Andrew, have Sunday finales, and the voting is done in large part by like midday on Saturday. So the games on Saturday and Sunday are almost not even factored in. What they've done is the committee creates contingencies based on who could win what tournament, and they kind of like pick a contingency and say, oh, well, they made it past Friday, so let's, here's where we have them now, and that's where you land up. We've seen teams make epic runs at the ends of seasons and into conference tournaments and then miss the tournament completely, with everybody flabbergasted about how they missed it. So, if you're UCF, I'll say it again, you are what your regular season says you are, but that's not true for these other tournaments. A run in the conference tournament could help in some of the other tournaments that you talked about. So, we'll see if they can get that done. Andrew, great conversation talking about all things UCF sports. Before we get out of here, tell people where they can find you.
You can catch me on Twitter /X or Blue Sky at StatBoyDrew, and you can catch my writings on The Last Word on College Football, a part of The Last Word on Sports Family.
Thank you so much for making Locked On UCF your first listen of every day. For your second listen, go check out our friends at Locked On Big 12. Drake Toll leads the conversation in conference realignment news and pulls no punches when it comes to talking about every team in the Big 12, including the UCF Knights. You can find Locked On Big 12 on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast, and you can find us here tomorrow on Locked On UCF.